My name is Spencer Vance, owner of Coiled Retics. I've been in Retics I've owned Retics for about 3.5 years, and then I've been a part of the community for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years. So anyway, I'm excited about the upcoming breeding season. I've got a couple projects I'm working on. I'm going to be shooting for hypo into super dwarf, which will be really really fun. And then I also have this crazy like 4 or 5 gene male that I'll be taking to my Coyote female that I'm super stoked about. So first official breeding season as well. So I'm just going through the motions, trying to figure things out, and excited is an understatement. So I'll pass the torch over to Alex.
Alex Carr Reptiles. I've been in Retics for a couple years now. I plan to breed next year, not this year. And the pairing that I'm hoping for is the tribal to Mindanao. To eventually have a few more tribals so that I can do a few other things and hopefully get albino into tribal. All of my stuff right now is fairly small. The biggest one that I have is my tribal girl. I think she's what, Rodney, like almost 3-ish.
Yeah, she's got to be right around 3. She's got
like
to be
3.
pushing it. Yeah, she's going to be pushing 3.
So I think next year she's about 7 feet right now. So probably next year she'll be ready.
Nice, nice, Ryan.
Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Ryan Conkey, owner of Dream Reptiles. Been in Retics for, I'd say, about 2 years now. I'm looking for my first breeding, hopefully this year. Probably the breeding I'm looking forward to the most is I have a double het, 50% jam. She's pet Indo and Anery. And I'm going to run my GC Orange Glow Snow male to her. He's also 50% damp.
That's the only
looking forward to the most.
That's the only female you're running this year. I thought some of your super door stuff was ready.
Yeah, I'm hopefully my high percentage girls are going to go this year too. They're Prospect purple.
Oh, okay.
And they're Anery. They're both Anery. So
cool.
Well, that'd be nice. That'll be awesome. Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Mason.
My name's Mason Ray. I go by Neighborhood Exotics on Instagram. Mike Larry on Facebook. I mostly just do the big stuff now. That's like what I'm really focused on is the bigger localities. I have some wild caught stuff that I'm hoping I can get to do something. That's really like one of my main things is trying to get the wild caught animals to produce some more. I'm trying to like preserve some of the big bloodlines. Because a lot of this stuff is just kind of lost in the US. But I've been into retics for about 3 years. I actually wanted to get into emeralds like 6 years ago and never did. I'm kind of glad I didn't now. But yeah, I had some boas, I had ball pythons, I still have some ball pythons. I love snakes. I do. There's a lot of other stuff I want to get to, but I just gotta stay focused right now on what I got. And these large animals take up a lot of space, so I'm really focused on catering to what I already have.
Yeah, what are some of the main localities you're working with, Mason, right now?
I got Balis. I have Sumatrans. I have a Saram.
Wow.
What else is going on? Yeah, I have 1.2 Sumatrans. Two of them are the females are wild caught, and then I have 1.2 F1 Balis. I have the wild caught Saram. And then I have some medium-sized localities too. Like I have the Mindanaos. I have F1s and F2s. And the one I don't know if I even consider a medium. I guess Rodney could chime in on that. I have the Ternates too. I have 2 males here right now, 2 F1s. I really like the the Ternate stuff as well. I'll probably never not have one. And then I like I guess I have a Homa too, female F1 Homa as well. That I just got. She's young, but
Nice.
kind of just another one I wanted to have as well. But I'm really focusing on getting I want to get some Sulawesi stuff for sure. That's like really one of the things I don't have that I would really like to get here. So I'm pretty like I said, I'm focused on the bigger stuff right now.
Yeah, that's some good looking stuff that you post. I watch your content, and
Yeah, you have to come up
your
sometime.
locality stuff looks great.
You'll have to come by sometime.
I
I'll be
know we're
coming
not far.
soon.
We're up in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
I'm like 40 minutes away, and I'm like 10 minutes away from Clint's Reptiles and stuff too down here.
Nice. Yeah.
You know who's somebody that I haven't connected with. He kind of likes to keep things under the radar.
Is it Richard?
Have you guys ever heard of Richard Bilbo? Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
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 Where is he? I think he's up in. Is he up in like
Uh,
Logan or something?
no,
Yeah.
he's in
I
Rich
really want to
he's in
connect with
Richfield.
that guy. Richfield, so down south, right? Yeah, that's south.
Yeah. He's I think
I think it's about an
southeast.
hour and a half south of me.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
I
he's
didn't
like
know he
two and
was
a
in
half hours.
Richfield because I've been down there a few times in the last like couple of years. Yeah, I had a
Yeah,
friend that
he's
lived
down there.
down
He's
there, so I've been
cool.
down there. I didn't even know he was down there. But anyway, well, I'm just excited. You know, a big reason why we wanted to do this is talk about next gen, the group, kind of what we're seeing in the market, conversations with new people coming in. I think that's kind of where we wanted to start. And you know, it's really interesting because I'm seeing more and more keepers, new keepers, and newer breeders that are in super dwarfs or in retics, and they're just approaching it. I feel like with a very modern twist versus some of the old school methods, which is great. I think that's kind of what is needed and what's necessary. And I think the expectations have been much more realistic with some of the people coming in as well. Um, you know, and I think especially with the market, you know, I was kind of around 5, 6 years ago, COVID money and the craziness with super dwarfs, and I probably overpaid on some of my stuff, but it's really cool to see a lot of people and their own takes and projects and stuff. And I know Rodney's talked about it at nauseum, but there's so many projects that are still not being worked, and it's kind of appalling to me that you know we have some of these major projects in that have not been worked into super dwarfs, you know, or have not been worked into different localities to make stuff look better. And I feel like you know, fortunately, with a lot of the new breeders and keepers we have, they're kind of seeing that, or they're kind of buying into that, and that's kind of what I think our group is about, is really giving people a platform to come in and be able to ask questions and express themselves freely, and you know, even express some frustrations as well with different experiences, people, the industry, whatever. And I think all that is good and great, and that's how we grow. So um anyway, I just wanted to open it up, and maybe you guys can kind of speak to your experience so far in next gen, and also just in the market, what you guys are seeing and some of the conversations you're having. But I'll just kind of open it up, and maybe we'll start with Alex, and just some of the things that you're seeing with the people you're connected with.
A lot of what I'm seeing is people, they're really focused on the super dwarf stuff, and I think that I was too when I got in. The longer that people are in, they start to see these other localities and how they're improving morphs. One of the guys here locally, he had a mainland, talked to him about localities, and now he's buying a Mindanao, Solaire, other things like that. And
That's sick.
it's not just the, you know, what you're used to, like Kalatoa, Jampea, all that stuff. They're like, oh, there was retics on other islands too. Um,
Yeah,
so, you know, they're like, oh, I didn't know that they were even there. And I'm like, yeah, they were everywhere.
7 islands over.
Yeah, they can swim. Uh, so, uh, out of most of the people that I've talked to, I think that it's more has changed a bit. Um, you know, I started with Instagram, doing social media, trying to get out there for future breedings. And it's kind of turned into more of the mindset that you were talking about, Spencer, where it's like keeping. People want to see your husbandry, they want to see your keeping, they want to see how your animals react to you. It's not just a machine. It's people are looking at these things as, beloved pets. Mine are. I'm a little bit more probably empathic with them than maybe some breeders are.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, man, that's what
No,
I got.
that's great. I mean, that's great insight. And I think to your point about people wanting more transparency in the space and husbandry and enclosures and making sure that, stuff is happy and healthy. I think that's kind of the root of, I think, everybody's passion, or should be, right? And there's a couple comments of people saying, I'm not passionate or whatever about my stuff, which is crazy. Because the amount of time that I put in to just building my enclosures in the beginning was just insane. Like before I ever bought, or had animals in possession, it's like I still haven't put out the YouTube video because I've got so much footage of the build out from it, and it's taken so long. But it is interesting, and people do want to see that. People want to see enclosure build outs. They want to see some DIY stuff. They want to see some high end husbandry stuff. They want to see different substrates. And I think Jen from Mod Exotics, I had a kind of back and forth with her in a good way on the next gen Retics thread about substrate, and I think she uses paper and I use Reptile Prime. And it was just interesting because I have seen so many awesome setups that vary vastly in terms of what people use. If it's bioactive, if it's naturalistic, if it's kind of plain Jane, but there's different levels, or shelving, or there's so many different things that people have set up and done that I think all work well and all do the job great. I think it's just everybody has a slightly different take, but I think people want to see that, right? People want to see what you're doing.
I think they want to see, like, I think they want to see, well, like you said, flip to the other side of the coin here. That people have made some kind of sly comments to you about the business side of things, like that. That's the focus. I'm on
Let's
the
not
flip
go
side.
there. Let's not go there, Alex.
I'm on the
I'm just-
I'm on the flip side of the coin, and I was like, man, maybe I'm a little too much, on the keeper side. But I think that there's somebody for everybody, and everybody has a thing that they're passionate about. Everybody
yeah.
starts somewhere, and what your interest is kind of the avenue that you go down, and that's why it's cool.
Yeah. No, 100%. Everybody's got a different flavor and twist. Ryan, what are some of the things that, I know you kind of came in, and I feel like you came in and it was like the floodgates open. You came in big, kind of like how I did it. What are some of the things that where did you start in terms of your mentality coming into this, and how has that maybe changed over, you know, the last couple years or whatever?
That's a great question because I definitely have totally flipped my entire mentality from when I first came into this game. When I first came in, it's funny, I got my first dwarf um, just to get a pet. I
Right.
wanted to get back into reptiles again. I'd been out of reptiles for a little bit. I had a ball python, but I was pretty much out of reptiles. I wanted to get back into reptiles. Um, I wanted to get back into retics. I had a retic a while ago. I wanted to get back into one. Hey, I'm going to get something that's going to be a little bit smaller, blah, 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 blah. And I went in and I fell in love and I got the hook, line, and sinker. I fell for it. And then I was like, okay, but I need to diversify because I want to do this as a living eventually. I mean, I know it's difficult. I know it's really hard, but that's my passion and that's my goal. I found out real quickly that I was going to have to add things because I wanted to be different. I'm the kind of guy who wants to push the envelope and be different. And I saw some stuff that was going to be able to do that. And so I went for it and I just flipped the script. So now my main focus is I bought up every locality you can get, basically. Um, there's a couple super dwarf things that I don't have, but I have 2.2 Kalatoa, I have 1.2 Halmahara, I have 2.2 Mindanao. I have I have every cross you can think of, Slayatoas. I got every locality I could get so I can add every single thing I want into those morphs because I don't think people are doing it. They're just not. And it's wild that there is these incredible animals out there and we are not putting that to the morph. Um, I know there's some some different opinions that people vary from, but I think if everybody's honest with themselves, a morph is a morph, and it can only do what a morph can do, and we have to add to that. And a brown snake is just going to add brown, and so I want to add all the colors and the different vibrant patterns and all these different contrasts. I'm a contrast guy. In order to do that, I got to bring in localities, and so I'm full on board on the locality game. I love it. I love localities.
Yeah, no, I think when I started, I think a lot of a lot of the videos when it came to super dwarfs or retics, I was watching. I was a huge, big into reach out reptiles. Obviously, they've got the most content probably out there in terms of long form content when it comes to super dwarfs. And
Yeah.
I think the sentiment at that time, this is probably 2018, 2019, for most people that wanted to buy and then eventually breed, the focus was just making things smaller. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of the box where you're like, hey, I want to buy some pures, the females, because then I can up percentages and all that kind of good stuff. And I lived in that box for a long time. It's like I bought a few females that were pures, pure locality stuff, and then all my other stuff is very high percentage too. And that's turned out great because it set me up in terms of that part of things. But when it comes to bringing the color and bringing the contrast and really kind of focusing on how do I make stuff actually aesthetically look better, that's one thing that's I feel like I'm a little bit weak on my side of things, right? And so it's definitely changed my mentality as well because you can't just expect to take a platinum, any platinum, and take it to a regular old Kalatoa, and you're going to get these bright yellow snakes. Like, and that's what I thought, right? And I think that's what a lot of people kind of were indoctrinated with is like take
Mhm.
yellow, make it smaller, and it's going to be really yellow. And it's like
I think,
it's not how it works, right?
no, like I should show you this Annery Platinum that I have. Now, granted, it's Annery, so it throws it off a little bit. And then I should show you a Turnade, and you're going to see the difference. I mean,
Right,
it's night and day.
right.
It is what it
Well,
is, and you can't argue it. And so why fight it? Go with it and use what God gave us to make things look even better, right?
well, and
So
it's
I'm kind of
interesting.
focusing, I'm kind of flipping it a little bit. I'm going to try to add a lot of the color and pattern in and then shrink down because I have quite a bit of, when I first got into it, I bought some pretty decent high percentage super dwarf stuff. So my goal is to get those colors in there at 50% and then run it to my higher percentage stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great goal. And we ran a poll on the group, and it was Rodney ran a poll, and it was something like, what's the most important thing to you? Is it, percentage, locality, aesthetics, whatever? And all the
Aesthetics
comments were
won.
like, yeah, it was
Aesthe-
aesthetics,
yeah,
and then it was like
size.
percentage.
Right.
Right. So it's crazy because, you're absolutely right, Ryan. When you compare some of the Turnate stuff that Rodney's produced and just kind of any old Super Dwarf Wild type, I mean, it's night and day in terms of the amount of black and contrast and color. So I think just thinking outside the box on some of this stuff, um, with a solid direction, because we do see, and I'm not trying to hate, but I mean, we do see some breedings, I see some breedings, I should say. I'm not speaking for us, but for myself, and I'm like, I don't know what the end goal is. You know what I mean? And once again, just going on Morph Market right now, there's over 1,000 animals available, and it's like, okay, so we've got bunch of new breeders coming up. We've got keepers. We got people looking for animals as pets. It's like, what is making your stuff significant or different than everything that's on Morph Market, right? And if you look at percentages, there's really not much available over like 50 to 60% Super Dwarf 2. So
That's
I
why
don't
if
know
I
what's
don't,
happening.
Spencer, question for you, and
Yeah.
this is a question for everybody. I see in all these threads, okay, the standard is now 75%. The standard is now 75%. Where where are these standard 75% super dwarfs? Can someone tell me? Because I want to buy one.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's the
they're not
problem.
they don't exist. Like even
So,
I mean I think Reach Out just Garrett just put out some platinums at 75%. But other than that, in terms of like morph combos and stuff, I mean we're just talking about pet stuff, right? And that's a big reason why I switched some of my breedings around this year. Because I was originally going to take my hypo to my Kaiwadi, and I was like, listen, it wouldn't be responsible for me. Her sister laid 42 eggs at Nathan Hess's place, the Aztec clutch. I was like, it'd be irresponsible of me to make 40 head hypos and try to move those responsibly, right? And it's like, yeah, I want some of those head hypos for myself as holdbacks, right? And maybe move a couple, but it wouldn't make sense, and that's on the high end. So I'm like, okay, we need to change some things up. And that's when I reached out to Nathan Katz and was like, hey, let's make some really cool, super high quality, super high percent, pet stuff. Just morph combo stuff, but it's going to be 84%, right? Super dwarf stuff.
I was
So that
wondering what your reasoning for that breeding was. I was trying to figure out why you decided to do that one, and it makes total sense. Make good pet quality stuff that'll sell.
well, and it's
Sorry, Alex.
no, you're good. You're good. Alex, go ahead. I don't know if you had
No,
something.
no,
Oh, okay.
I was just listening. Sorry.
But anyway, I just think once again, when you're looking at these pairings, you should be looking at, okay, how am I making the best looking stuff? And then because the goal is to breed, right? To be able to sell, but then also it's to make your stuff long term better. So if you're keeping holdbacks, right? And Rodney, maybe you want to chime in on how to kind of pick out some of those holdbacks, but it's like what are some of those things that we should be looking for once we do produce animals?
Well, the main thing you need to look for is just anything that stands out. Well, that's what I look for. Like if you just want to go brightest colors, whatever, that's what a lot of people look for. That's like whatever just stands out for bright colors. But I find that whatever's standing out for pattern um, is a much bigger deal because pattern manipulation gets gets a little bit tougher than color manipulation. Like if you want to manipulate the colors of a super dwarf, you can do it, like you take like Lucas's Soleatoas or whatever. Like it was
Mhm.
really easy to get super dwarf blood with some Solayer colors. Like that's all you had to do. Now, if you want to throw an aberrant you want to throw an aberrant back pattern on a Solayer or a super dwarf, or you want to try to make the super dwarf version of like a Fractalis or a Apocalypto, that's a different story. You know what I mean? That's going to take a lot more breedings than just looking for color. So like pattern structure is really what I look for holdbacks. Like if I want to, because that's what's going to be very time consuming. So any type of abnormal back pattern, I'd say should be top priority for holdbacks because
Well,
it's genetic.
okay.
It's 100% genetic, and it's reliable at the same time. It's not reliable, and it's easy to it's easy to really ruin it, because a lot of the morphs we have, like they've been so watered down, and everything's just like this kind of like common denominator look. So anytime you got to run that into a morph, you're going to be washing out a ton of secondary traits. So yeah, I mean, just look for stuff that has an unusual pattern structure and go with that for sure. That should be the top of the list, even well before color. Unless what you're strictly doing is for color. Like you're trying to make what were you saying there, Alex?
So Rodney, and I don't know how often you look at Morph Market, but if you're looking through Morph Market, like let's say that you're looking at ads, you're looking at recently
Mm-hmm.
posted, whatever. When you're combing through snakes, and I don't know how often you buy snakes off Morph Market, are
Never.
you looking at pattern structure, and are you seeing snakes that are listed on Morph Market that you go, that's really nice.
Oh
I
yeah.
really like that. I would add that. I would add that to mine.
Yeah, there's specifically somebody has a sun tiger really cheap on there that was really impressive. What else? I saw something else on there the other day. I was on the phone with Andrew and we were on there looking at something, and I can't remember what it was, but there was another very interesting. There was somebody had a normal. It was just a normal, and it was just crazy looking, and it was dirt cheap. And I'm like,
I saw that one.
yeah, it was like $100 or 200. I'm like, nobody's picking up these genetics for $100
I
just to
saw
play
it.
with. I was like, what do you know?
It's one of the best looking normals I've seen.
Yeah, there like and you'll see that stuff and it's dirt cheap. And it's like, and people just like, well, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I'll put it out and try to sell it. It's like, no, you need to keep that. You need to keep that back and breed it. So, but yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I usually go on Morph Market to try to get a gauge on what's kind of going on in retics. Like, and I'm always trying to like figure out pricing and stuff. But it's like it's a shit show to try to get any kind of understanding of
Need
what's
metrics. Yeah, that's
yeah, like
legitimate.
trying to get you just have to add 10 different prices together and just come up with the whatever
Well,
the
and
medium is.
it's like it's listed for X, but you don't know what that stuff's actually selling for. That's the
Yeah.
other problem too,
Well,
unless it's
look
an
at it.
auction.
Look at the prices of het ocelots right now. They're anywhere from like $200 to $1,500.
Yes.
It's like, so what are they worth?
Right. Well,
You
one
know?
question I had, a follow-up, Rodney, to you talking about some holdbacks and pattern and color. It's interesting because you go on Facebook and you see these guys over in the UK and stuff like blasting out some crazy looking retics,
Hmm.
and so what are we missing over here in the States, you feel like that, what's so different? Because I feel like some of their stuff is so far ahead in terms of like color and pattern and all that kind of stuff. Like where's the disconnect?
It's well, when you look at like stuff with Yakub and that whole crew, um, almost all of their stuff is just one to 2-3 generations removed. A lot of it's wild caught or 1 or 2 generations, whereas us, how many generations removed is the purple albinos getting produced this year? 10, 12, 15? So you know what I mean? So it's like all of that stuff has kind of just been washed out. And that's what we're missing here is just the variety of secondary traits, you know.
Right.
It's Rodney, it's like what you told me one time when I asked, I asked a very similar question one time, and he gave me a really insightful answer. And it was, look at the normals that are out there. They all look the same.
Yeah.
But yet you look at normals over in other countries or the wild that
They're
they
all over the
imported
place.
in, and none of them look the same. They were all different. Now a normal is a normal, and you can spot them. They all look
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Well, they've got some different bloodlines too, right? They've got Borneo blood and some of those other bloodlines as well, right?
Yeah.
They've just got access to more locality stuff.
I think something like Bali and either high silver Sumatrans or high silver Malaysians are going to be two localities that you're going to see people start to be interested in because they're going to see the functionality of them is going to be able to improve a lot of stuff like with the yellowhead trait and even on the high silver side for stuff that needs a lot of silver like mocha. um that's something where like a Malaysian or a Sumatran would actually be really helpful to try to add some extra silver in there. So I see those two essentially mainland localities actually getting more attention in the future once people realize what they can do with them. Or like everybody wants high silver anthraxes. Well, that's, a Malaysian Sumatran would help with that. You mix those high silvers in with a super dwarf, and you have that in with your anthrax gene. Now you have these high silver, smaller anthraxes. That's so I people aren't there yet, but I think that's coming.
Right. Right.
It has
No,
to, I can tell you right now, that gene has to come from both sides. So you're basically making yellow heads if if it's not carrying it. Yeah, it's got to come from both sides. I've never made a yellow head from an animal that couldn't be traced back to a yellow-headed parent.
I want to switch gears here just for a second because we have quite a few breeders in the next gen retics group on Facebook, but there's also just a ton of keepers on there too, and I want to speak to some of those. So if you guys can come up with like one tip for keepers here, I'll kind of start this segment off. But I think it's important because there are people that want to just they just want to buy one or they just want to buy two, and they want to build out this crazy cool enclosure, and they want to do all these great things for their animals, and I love that, and I want to just kind of help feed that. So the one tip that I have is two pronged. First and foremost, if you're looking right now today for animals, I would wait. I would wait like 3 to 6 months because you're going to have a wave of really awesome stuff hit the market, I would say, in the next 6 months. That would be my first part of that. And the second part would be I would definitely focus if you're planning on just being a keeper and you're new to retics, you're passionate about them, buy hatchlings, buy them when they're young, because I can tell you, and this is anecdotal, this is my own personal experience, I'd say 5 out of my 8 animals I purchased when they were hatchlings, and the temperaments on those and messing with them every day, every other day or whatever it is, versus buying an animal that's you know, only seen the light of day when it was being fed for 2 years. It's a massive, massive difference. And so that would be my first tip is like buy hatchlings, work with them, you know, don't, I mean, you don't want to hurt them, but it's like mess with them. You know what I mean? Mess with them and play with them and get them really accustomed to being handled. And you're going to most likely, in most cases, have a very well-tempered animal, as a pet. And so that would be my number one tip. Rodney, you got a tip for keepers, a generalized tip?
I would have to say, yeah, just take your time. Like if you really want to get something that you plan on keeping for a long time, like don't whatever's cool this week, don't just go out and buy that. You know what I mean? Like really, you know what I mean though? Like whatever's
Yeah.
people are pushing or whatever, like just figure out whatever you think you'll enjoy looking at every day. Get that. And if that dude, if that's a $100 normal, or if it's an overpriced whatever, you like what, it doesn't matter. It's just like whatever. If it's and and a quick point though is most of the people buying these animals are just keepers, and that's something that we forget, and that's something that breeders forget. And not to go off to a tangent, but I'm going to for a second. The whole reason I'm making those videos on 10,000, 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, where to start, is because, and the reason I'm saying buy these animals is because most people getting this to the breeding aspect are like, okay, I need to make these high-end animals for breeders. But the reality is the mass majority of the people buying these snakes are buying them as pets, maybe might try to breed. So, and most of those people want something pretty. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're buying a snake, I would say, just make sure it's something you're not going to get tired looking at, and if you go out and buy something that's hyped up this week, it's 6 months, you're going to want the new thing. So, yeah, just make sure it's just something specifically that you're going to enjoy looking at.
Yeah, sleep on it for multiple
Yeah,
nights.
yeah.
um, no, that's great. Alex, a tip
Yep.
for new keepers.
The breeder means a lot. Somebody that can help you through the process of getting a new retic, getting a second retic, whatever. Shit happens. I bought one from Nathan Katz. I think it was like 8 months ago, something like that. She fell ill when she came to me, had parasites. They didn't catch them, and she passed away. But Nathan was super good through the whole process. He talked to me almost daily when we kind of got down to it. And the other point of that being is not only can they be super helpful there, if you don't choose the right one, you can also kind of get shafted as well. My first retic is a 50% super dwarf, and I have messed with him and messed with him and messed with him. He's just not very nice. He just doesn't like people. He doesn't really want to be around. So having a breeder that can say, hey, this may not be the first one for you. Like, I know that you think that this guy is pretty. This may not be one that you want to take on because he's having a hard time coming around. Or, hey, this one is super sweet. My kids mess with it. Like, it's messed with every day. Having that difference can kind of feed into the retics or nasty animals. I kind of get that a lot. When I go to shows, they're like, what do you have? And I'm like, retic. And they're like, oh, geez. Like, these things will eat you alive. And I'm like, no, not at all. And it just kind of feeds into that. And if you don't set people up right as a breeder, if you're not setting people up right, you know that they're new and you're just selling them something to be selling them something, then you can possibly get like somebody that's never going to come back, or they're going to say, I swear off retics, because I was almost there at one point.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't know about these things.
No, I love that. And thanks for sharing that story about Nathan. I mean, everybody hears all the good stories and you really find out who somebody is when stuff hits the fan. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm glad he was helpful through that process with you, took care of you. So
absolutely.
cool. Ryan.
Well, you guys hit some really good ones. I guess quick off the top of my head, I would say one, stop after one. It's easy to get sucked right into this game. It's really easy. And next thing you know, you got 10, 12, and you're a breeder. So it's okay to have one as a pet. I think that's what we have to get across to people, is that I think all of us get into this that love reptiles and we think, well, you have to become a breeder. Like that's how you become relevant. That's how you become whatever. And that's not the case. I think you can be a top-notch keeper with even one animal and be super active in all these groups, engage with us breeders or future wannabe breeders, and join us on this, because it's all about the passion. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if you're keeping one as a pet and it's a complete different cross and it's the worst breeding anybody ever did, but you love it, versus some of us who have extensive collections, or some of the rarest localities of the largest retics. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's all for the passion of this. And so just get what you like and then be active in the community and help us with this hobby that we love, I guess.
I love that. I mean, that's great advice. And it's interesting. I had a local guy here in Utah that would call me and he was looking at spending, you know, six figures this a couple years ago and buying 10 animals right off the rip. Never owned a retic in his life. I invited him down to my place, and kind of walked him through what he was actually thinking about getting himself into. And, I kind of helped him back out of that deal. And he ended up with one and he loves it. But he's like, I'm so glad I didn't buy 10, off the jump, off the rip, because it would have been way too much. He was thinking about expanding, or adding an addition to his house and like all this stuff, like before he even owned a single animal. And I was like, listen, like pump the brakes, start with one, get the pretty one to start, the one that you're gonna like looking at. And then you can decide later, like what you want to do. But yeah, you're right. It should not be some sort of a prerequisite that you need to become a breeder once you buy a retic or a super dwarf. It's just it's stupid. It's cool to see in the group. There was a guy, I forget his name, Alex something, but he was kind of an extreme outlier on the keeper side, where he was wanting to literally invest every dime and dollar he got from like the clutch that he was going to be working on, or the project he was going to be working on, back into just making his enclosures better, and like, so he was like not even wanting to breed to for profit, and he was making that like abundantly clear to everybody. But it was like, so that was kind of neat, that was kind of cool, where it's like a completely different perspective. And I welcome that. I think that's healthy. And ultimately, once again, it's like everybody's got their opinions on everybody, but it only helps if we're all on the same team in terms of bringing awareness to how awesome these animals are. I mean, that's if you're a keeper, breeder, doesn't matter. It's like, and the argument that everybody needs to become a breeder and all that kind of stuff is just stupid. I mean, I remember when I started, I forget her name, Rodney. I don't know if you remember her name. She was friends, I think, with Garrett, but she did all the like target training stuff with her Super Dwarf stuff. She
Oh
was a
yeah, I
scientist or
yeah, I
something.
can't think of her
Remember
name.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was super dope. And that was something that I thought about, trying to do. I ended up not really implementing that myself, but I was like, wow. I mean, she's taking the time with one animal, doing all the target training and all that kind of stuff, which I think is cool. But yeah, other things you guys see, or other things that you guys want to see out of keepers, or the market, and or things you guys are looking forward to, Ryan.
I'm excited just for people being open now, and now that the word is out that there are more localities out there and that we have other bloodlines. I have nothing against Kalatoa and Karampa and all those. Nothing. I have some of those. I want to shrink stuff down. I want to make some really cool looking smaller snakes. But I'm excited for all of these new breeders who see some similar things that all of us see, um, with these different localities, and I think it's exciting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what a lot of these other guys do. I think the fact that there's a lot of breeder loans happening, I think that's really exciting. I saw Spencer, I saw Andrew sent you his super phantom. That's awesome. I literally just got something from Eric Lee. I got a Moschino, so a Moschino Tiger Anthrax that I'm going to be implementing into some of my locality stuff. So I mean, I see all these people pairing up, and I think that's really great. I know there can be some complexities to that and whatnot, but I think that's also great. Now we're diversifying bloodlines even more. And we're bringing the community together even more too. So that's one of the
Well,
things I'm excited for.
yeah, I love that. And I think there's kind of a need, and that's kind of the purpose behind our next gen group, is just like there's kind of a need for community. I know there's been drama, there's been all kinds of stuff that have kind of happened in our space, and there's a lot of really good people out there, and it's really fun for me because on Instagram or whatever, I'm seeing new keepers for super dwarfs pop up. I'm seeing new breeders pop up, people that are like super stoked about their branding, about their animals, about, you know, what they're doing and their content. And so it's really inspiring. It's really cool to see. And, I love being a part of it. And ultimately, to your point, Ryan, with these breeder loans and stuff, what people need to understand too is um it's not competition, because ultimately, if we're all working together to make better looking animals, smaller looking animals, the end product is just going to be that much better for everybody, right?
We
And
also
these
don't
projects.
need, and not to cut you off, and I want to
Right.
give Alex some time to talk too, but
Yeah.
because I tend to overtake conversations, but um, the other thing that we don't need is a million retics on morph market. So if I can pair up with somebody and you can pair up with somebody, and now instead of making an extra clutch, why don't we pair two phenomenal animals together and get one just banging clutch? And now there's that many less animals, but yet we can still sell them and get some out to other people.
Well, and it's interesting too. I think it's important to be kind of aware, if you are on the breeder side, what is being produced, and not that you're trying to pocket watch people, or project watch people, so to speak. But for instance, I'm going to be one of my clutches is very, very close in terms of the kind of stuff I'm making to one of Jen's clutches that her female just laid, right? And so, but I'm already collaborating with Jen, and I'm saying, hey, let's talk about, let's make sure that we're not trying to undercut. Let's stay on the same page here, you know. And I'm going to send referrals to you if I don't have something, vice versa. Let's work together. And I think that's needed. But let me, Alex, let's hear from you. I know you probably have some stuff you want to say, but yeah, go ahead.
Uh, one of the things that I'm seeing in the community mostly is Discord, Instagram, they're like the groups. Guys are putting out there what they have. They're putting out there and they're working through their pairings with others. What are the pitfalls of this? What is this be a good pairing? Um, this happens a lot. I have people that I've met online, Mayray included, that I speak to pretty frequently, and get to talk about your pairing before you do it. Rodney may be able to speak on this. He's been doing this for quite a while. I don't know how often Rodney talked through pairings with multiple people, saw what was coming up and what you could be searching for in the next step. Guys are not only having the short-term goals, and they're not just mass producing crazy stuff, they're also having long-term goals, saying this is something that I want to make, 5 years from now. This is something that I want to see 10, 15 years from now. And thinking through that, and then thinking through each step and having the community kind of jump in on that, and give a yay or nay. There are some things, I'm so ADHD sometimes, I'm all over the place. And I'm like, I want this, I'm a kid in the candy store. But there are, certain people in the community that I can talk to. Well, if this is your goal, this is what you need to sit on. And I'm like, yeah, they're right. To have that community and see the retic community build it that way is the drama version that I guess.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think once again, it's, especially the good people in the space, there is a lot of good people and positivity out there. And I think just sharing that is always going to kind of outweigh the drama side or whatever. But I think a lot of that stuff we're kind of past. And I think a lot of people are kind of past the drama or whatever anyway, because I think everyone's coming to the same conclusion, which is beautiful to see. At least those are some of the conversations I've been having over the last 3 months. Is like people want transparency from breeders, right? They want to see people's setups. They want to see husbandry. They want people talking about it. And then in terms of like the actual animals, it's like as breeders, we want more aesthetically pleasing, animals and smaller animals and all this kind of good stuff. Mayray, I'm going to kick it over to you. Um, I know you cut out right before kind of your tip for keepers, but what would be kind of your major tip for and new keepers coming into the space?
Biggest thing I could say is get what you want to work with. Like, I started with the smaller stuff because that's what I was comfortable with at the time. But I just, the more I went around the bigger animals, the more they're just more rewarding to me to work with. So I enjoy it more. But I still enjoy, I still follow all the small stuff too. So I mean, like, I just encourage people to work or get what you want to work with, get what you want to look at, get what keeps you wanting to go straight to your reptile room when you wake up in the morning. Or straight to the cage if you don't have a whole room, I guess. But that's what I did. Like, I fucking wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and I'm in this room before I hit the gym. Like, that is like, that's
I love that.
that's the first thing I want to do when I wake up is go see what my animals are doing. Their lights aren't even on yet, and I'm over here with my flashlight looking at like that's that's like
Yeah,
that's the best advice I could give anybody is just get what you want to look at, what you want to work with, whether you want to breed or not. I mean, even as a pet, obviously, then yeah, get what you want to look at. If you want to buy a $10,000 retic and that be your only retic forever, because that's what you wanted to look at, then do it. If you have the ability, do it. I see a lot of guys now, honestly, that like they only have one retic, but like the setups that they're building are sick. Like they're awesome. Like they're just like, this is the only animal I plan on having, and I don't care to breed them, don't nothing. Like this is just what I wanted. And I've seen people do that with $10,000 retics, and I've seen people do that with $250 retics. So like I think it's something that can be done. Like I said, it all depends on what you like.
I love that. That's great advice. Rodney, go ahead.
Hey, Mason, you're kind of in a unique spot because there's kind of like two branches of retics. There's like mainland morphs, and then there's like the super dwarf stuff. And you're
Yeah,
kind of in this spot where you're like niche down to like larger localities.
in the
So
middle.
yeah, you know what I mean. So like that's probably you're probably in the smallest community in the whole retic industry. And I don't know if you like, have you thought about that? Or I mean, because you probably you know what I mean though, like legitimately, there's not a lot of people in your space right
No,
now
there's
working
not.
with
No.
I mean, really, I don't. The only like, I mean, my closest friend in Retix is Weston. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's the one who kind of like, I was into the big stuff, but he like let me go to his place and really like work with him, like see what he does with them and stuff.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. This isn't like there's not a lot of people that are like going out of their way like I have. I mean, I've driven across the whole country to get big locality animals. Like there's not a lot of people really into that. I have thought about it. I have. I'm like, there's really not a lot
okay,
of people think that bollies are cool, but the amount of people that should have a snake that can get that big if you feed it right. I mean, you just people just got to understand what they're getting into, like housing wise. Like this is a thing. Like perfect example right now, where I'm at now with, I only need a couple animals, a couple more animals here, and my collection is where I want it. Really, like people might produce stuff that I might grab here and there, but like really, I'm like I have one goal. I'm trying to get literally like one more locality, and I'm like going to be really happy where I'm at, almost like a closed collection at that point. So my next step now is with me and my wife looking into buying a home and stuff. I'm like, well, I want to do something with, I've always wanted to shop because I work on shit. So now I'm like, well, I'm going to do a shop that either already has the ability for me to either add on to it or segregate an area, because now I want to do like 3 to 5 walk-ins to cycle my animals through is really like my main
oh, okay,
goal. And that's something like I said, I don't think a lot of people would even think about that, but like that's kind of where I want to see my animals, especially the wild caught ones. I kind of want to see what they would do, not keeping them in a walk-in full time, but being able to put them in there for the day and have shit that they can climb on and like just kind of let them exercise, really let them move. Like that's like where I'm at now. So I encourage people to think in the future as well.
yeah. We'll have to
Keep
see if
planning.
Weston, you know, Weston hasn't did a podcast in a while. We'll have to hit him up to see if he wants to come
Well,
on
I
and do
think
something.
Weston's great. I mean,
yeah.
he's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and he's a great example too of someone that legitimately, I mean, for him, it's just about his animals, because he's got so many large animals that he just cares for and maintains. And he's not, I mean, he could crank out hundreds of babies a year, but it's just that's not his thing. He's successful in other areas. So for him, it's legitimately just I want big snakes. And so that's pretty cool to see out of Weston at Wildfire. So
yeah. And Weston's also somebody who started out thinking, okay, I'll be a breeder, and he just shifted away from that. He's like, no, no, no.
he's like, no, it's good. I'll,
Yeah,
I'll I'll avoid that headache, you know. So um well, I mean, I think this has been awesome, gents, and I think our invitation to anybody watching this is to check out our group Next Gen Retics, and what we've really tried to do with that, and Rodney, maybe you can speak a little bit to this too, but really try to have an open forum where people feel comfortable, where it's like, we don't care if you've been in retics for 2 days or 20 years. It's like, come and give us your input, show us what you've done, right? And show us what you're passionate about, and then we can go from there. But
yeah. And you know, I was really hoping that Next Gen would also be a place for people that are actually looking at this differently, because a lot of the other groups, they're pretty, I mean, each group pretty much has a clique, and that clique comes with an ideology. So I'm really hoping next gen is a place that kind of is inviting and will allow people to, kind of talk about some of these different ideas. Because I mean, there's five of us on here tonight, and we're all doing five very different things with Retics, to be honest. And yeah, that's just what I want to see. And everybody's pushing something forward in their own way. That's something I think that we see missing in a lot of, like, I'll call them the retic clicks. They're just kind of, it's almost like an echo chamber, and it's really hard to have things progress in an echo chamber. So I'm really hoping this, next gen can bring in some people with some new ideas. And I'm always interested to hear what people are doing. Like, I'm always asking people, like, what do you got? What are you breeding? What's your plans? I love hearing about that stuff.
Mm.
I really enjoy that. Like, and, people, tell me what they're doing. And, like, I'm really impressed with the whole new group of breeders. Like, they've all been really impressive. Like, and in the new keepers too, like between the people that just want a couple snakes and doing big enclosures, what Mason's doing, like, because I mean, he's basically an island right now to himself with what he's working
A
with.
Mayray Island.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's, and I think that's, and I think that's good. I think that's good that people are just kind of like, hey, it's not morph chasing anymore. And
Thank goodness.
and dude, I started keeping reptiles in 1987, and to watch what the industries went through in that time, and to watch what happened when the ball python market mentality literally overtook all of reptiles, and then everybody had to be a big breeder, everybody had to have as many animals as possible, everybody, it's we're shifting out of that. Like, and I see that across the whole industry. The industry's starting to shift out of that. And that's why I think next gen is a great group that's going to allow for that transition back into selective breeding, preserving localities, uh, you know, pushing the envelope on aesthetic value. Yeah, I think that's what it's needed. I think that's the only thing that's going to save retics. Because, like, if retics was to stay on this two course path of make them super small or make mainland morph combos, there's no way it could last. You know what I mean? There's no way. Because everything will end up looking the exact same, getting the exact same results, and yeah, it
It's
can't
such a
survive.
fresh, it's such a breath of fresh air, Rodney. I
Yeah.
mean, and it really is. Like, everybody's doing different stuff, and people are speaking up a lot more, and the
Hmm.
new people are coming in. It's like, yeah, they're thinking outside the box, and I think, and that's what I urge everybody to do, is just like, look, like, think of this thing like a Rubik's cube, and play with color potential, and go watch Rodney's video on, what was it, 10 or 20 projects that have not been
Yeah.
pursued. That's the other funny thing about people being like, oh, I'm gonna work on my project, and I'm not gonna tell anybody, and I'm not gonna sell any of them. It's like, the, in terms of progression, if you look at it, like, what's been sold to people and what's actually been produced from those sales, it's like, no one should be scared of selling their stuff, right? Or,
Right.
you know what I mean? You should be worried about, like, worry about you. But if you're passionate about a certain project, I can almost guarantee nobody else is going to beat you to that project, because statistics have shown there's been a lot of awesome animals sold and a lot of projects not pursued. So I just want to put that out there as well. But let's finish with closing remarks. We'll go around the horn one more time. Alex, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, or if you want to plug your stuff too, go ahead. You know.
No, I'm on Instagram. I think that any new breeders that are coming into the space, maybe not necessarily keepers, but any new breeders that are coming into the space, have something that you can hang your hat on. Don't try to follow the crowd. I think that's been hit before. That was my whole thing, and when I bought my tribal female, at the time I was like, "What am I doing?" But now every time I walk in here, thrilled to see her. And it's a point from earlier was is I'd be at a reptile show and somebody will ask me about her specifically. Have something to hang your hat on. Get something that you want to see and just enjoy it. At a certain point, you want to take what everybody else has into consideration as far as like thinking about sales and stuff like that. But do whatever the hell you want to do. Like if you see something and you really enjoy that certain project, don't worry about if anybody's going to buy it or not. If you're making cool shit, then who cares?
I love that. I love that. And you know who's a great example of that, Alex? Chris McVicker. There's nobody else that's touched Superdorf titanium stuff like he has. Like that's what he's known for, right? And so it's like 100% pursue what you like and make it your thing and be passionate about it. Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say to keepers or breeders coming in, don't be intimidated by the space that you're in. Don't be intimidated by your lack of expertise or knowledge or your notoriety. I came into this and there's a lot of well-known people that you see over and over again, and it's a very small amount of people. And so when you get into that space with them, you get into a group with them, you get into a chat with them, it can be very intimidating and you don't want to make a comment. You don't want to make, whatever. Like to Alex's point, I love his attitude because it's like, who cares? Do you and make a comment and say what you got to say. Nobody else can tell you differently. Just do you and enjoy it. That's what I got to say. So, and by the way, Alex, I'm so jealous of your tribal. So, all right, that's all I got.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for that. Mason.
Yeah, I'd say like definitely check out our group, Next Gen Retics. I think that it's going to be a great place. I mean, it already is a great place for new keepers, new breeders. Um, I definitely want to see it just continue to grow. We're at like 400 and something members now, which is pretty cool. And I've even seen like a lot of guys from Indo wanting to come in, so that's cool too. I hope that they get active.
Yep.
I hope they get active in there because they have like a lot of information for us, especially for guys like me. But yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram. That's really where I post the snakes the most. Is May Ray Exotics. Um, yeah, just encourage people to just continue to try to get people into retics. Like try to educate people as much as you can. Like even if they're not reptile people, like my wife homeschools our kids. I had their whole homeschool group here. There was like it was like 20 kids. And I brought them down here and let them check out the animals and like just it was crazy how many like parents or grandparents were here that were afraid of like snakes period, and then they're like, wow, like you just like work with these every day, and I'm like, yeah, like it's what I do every day, and they're like, oh, like you're still alive, okay, cool, like so like I encourage people to I encourage people try to get people into it. Like that's a big thing. It's just like I mean, even if
Yeah.
they don't want to buy a retic right out the gate, just try to like educate them because there's so many people that think that a 3-foot ball python is trying to size you up to eat you like the minute it sees you, that like
Yep.
there's people really believe that. So like just try to educate. That's the best thing I could tell people.
No, I love that. I love that. I'm in the same boat, Mason. I've become known as the neighborhood snake guy. So it's like everybody and their mom wants to stop over or set up an appointment. And I always love having people over. But
Yeah.
no, this has been great, everybody. Much love. Appreciate you guys for hopping on, and everybody have a great rest of your week. Thanks, Rodney.